If you're returning them so quickly to Albania, you risk actually increasing the grip that gangs have because you're creating this never-ending cycle of exploitation. So there's a number of different factors. It's not a one simple cause and effect. Obviously, Albania is one of the most poor countries in Europe, which does have a knock-on effect because it leads to high levels of exploitation. Trafficking is a huge issue when it comes to Albanian citizens. We hear a lot about Albanian gangs. What's always missed out, or seems to be missed out, is that the first target for Albanian gangs are Albanian citizens to traffic them. So that's part of the issue. We do see a very high rate of Albanians who receive asylum when they seek it. It's more than half. It's about 53% by June of 2022. So these are people who have legitimate claims to seek asylum in the UK, predominantly because of trafficking.
But that was when it was 800 Albanians coming over. Now that's 12,000, predominantly young men. Is there a chance that that's shifting now, that the demographic that got asylum in previous years has somehow shifted to a different demographic who might be less worthy of asylum?
It's not, we won't be able to judge that until we see the actual asylum rate figures for the new increase of numbers. But statistically, it's likely to be pretty similar. We are seeing an increase of young men. Young men tend to be trafficked for forced labour as opposed to sexual exploitation. Now, those who are trafficked for forced labour globally tend to come through irregular routes, whereas people who are trafficked for sexual exploitation come through official routes like airports. So that's potentially why we're seeing such an increase at the moment. And it's harder to identify forced labour victims of trafficking than it is for those of sexual exploitation. So we might see a shift in how that is viewed.
And if you're brought here, if you're trafficked here for forced labour, is the solution to be granted asylum, or is the solution to go back to Albania, but out of the hands of the traffickers? Is that possible?
It's very hard if you're returning people to Albania to say they're going to be kept out of the hands of traffickers. The US State Department, for example, flags that there are significant concerns of complicity from authorities with trafficking gangs. So that protection level from state level isn't there at times to ensure they won't go back into the hands of traffickers. If you provide them with refugee status, if you actually provide them asylum, then you have a better chance of tackling the gangs because people are more able to come forward, provide information to the authorities, and that means you can actually target the gangs themselves and those who are doing the trafficking, rather than people being trafficked.
Yeah. What do you make of there's a plan in the Times today that's being floated by the government to say that if you're Albanian and you get deported, your initial bid for asylum is refused, you get sent back to Albania before any chance of appeal. Is that workable, do you think?
I don't think that's workable because, well, two reasons. One, you would be denying people the chance to seek asylum who may need it. It's very hard for people to come forward when they've been trafficked. There's a high level of coercive control that goes on. So there's no magic moment where they're suddenly freed from exploitation and can open up about it. So you need that time frame for them to be able to really explain and come to grips with them themselves. If you're returning them so quickly to Albania, you risk actually increasing the grip that gangs have because you're creating this never-ending cycle of exploitation. If someone's returned to Albania, the gangs don't just say, okay, that's done, we aren't going to traffic them anymore. You're just putting them straight back into the same situations that led to it in the first place.